Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports show. On today's show, I'm joined once again by a contributing writer here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, Logan Glaser. Logan, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate
Jeff.
it.
Thanks for having me on.
On today's show, we are going to preview the quarterback position for the upcoming season. We're going to hit all the positions going forward. So we're going to start with the QB one. Before I get to that, though, Logan, let's talk about some of the games we have to offer this year at Real-Time Fantasy Sports. All sorts of different options for everybody.
Yeah, this year we have more than ever with contests that we're offering. We've got the RTFFC Pro, the Super Pro, the Invitational. We've got an expanded TFC this year, and we also have the Best Ball Championship.
Lots of great contests, big prizes as well. The Fantasy Championship, $500,000 this year. That's awesome. And drafts are going off round the clock. Different price points, too. You can get in for as cheap as $10 in our Dime Best Ball leagues. And we have different formats, too. Anything you can think of, we offer here at Real-Time Fantasy Sports. So don't forget to sign up for a league. Also, commissioner product, we don't want to forget about that as well. We have the best commission product in the business. And we encourage you to sign up for that as well if you're looking to change your formats. All right, Logan, let's talk about this quarterback spot. Let's just jump into how we're going to approach it first of all. So how are you drafting quarterbacks this year? What's your strategy?
Yeah, my biggest thing is not to overpay for quarterbacks this year. It's a very deep field this year, especially with the lower QBs getting a bump this year, such as Derek Carr, Tua. They got some wide receivers coming in, and it's like I said, it's a very deep field. You don't want to, when you go into the drafting, you want to know where these quarterbacks are going based off their ADP, and not to overpay for one. That doesn't mean don't go up and get Josh Allen or anyone like that. Just know where they're going and don't overpay for one.
I'm kind of the same way. For me, I'm waiting on the position. I think it's deep. I thought last year it was really deep. This year I think it's even deeper, which is saying something because I thought I was comfortable drafting 10 or 11 guys last year. I think this year I'm good with like 14 or 15 as my number one QB. So I kind of like waiting the 8th, 9th round range and maybe even backing up a quarterback right away. So maybe take back-to-back quarterbacks from the 8th, 9th picks or 9th and 10th picks and platoon those guys on a weekly basis. I think that's a good strategy, and they can produce as good as a Josh Allen, taking him in the 3rd round. So that's kind of how I'm approaching. I think we're doing kind of the same thing, Logan. We're going to talk about 3 different categories here. We're going to talk about targets, fades, guys we don't want on our teams this year, and then sleepers as well, guys that we're going to target late in draft. So let's look at targets. Give me a couple targets for you this year for the coming season.
Yeah, my number one target this year is Joe Burrow. So the reason why I love Joe Burrow is the amount of volume that he accesses during the games. Last year he averaged over 33 pass attempts per game. He's going right now around the 8th round in draft picks and 12-man leagues. He's got one of the best wide receiver cores with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and you got Tyler Boyd, and you also got Joe Mixon in the mix with throwing out of the backfield, catching passes. So I really like Joe Burrow this year.
How about another one?
Another one is Josh Allen, to kind of contradict that. So he's the clear number one quarterback this year. He's got the dual threat with being able to throw and run. He had over 700 plus yards rushing last year, along with several touchdowns. And I was recently looking at a couple different drafts, and one draft really stuck out to me in the RTFFC that I absolutely love this stack. So it was in the 10th spot. He started out with Dalvin Cook, then he went Stephon Diggs in the 2nd round, and then Josh Allen in the late 3rd round. So I love that pair with Diggs and Allen, and then get Dalvin Cook in the 1st round.
I really like stacking in those big game contests as well. I think that's a good strategy. For me, a couple targets. My top one, Jalen Hurts. I absolutely love him this year. 9th overall in fantasy quarterback scoring last year. He missed 2 games as well. He ran for 784 yards, had 10 rushing touchdowns. I love his dual threat ability. He makes a ton of plays on the ground. And I think his bad throw narrative, while I do think he does have some bad throws, the stats don't really back that up. He actually had the 3rd best bad throw percentage in the league, so it was 14%. So that means he made bad throws 14% of his throws. So not terrible. Again, you can watch the film yourself and see him make some bad throws. But still, overall, maybe it's a little blown out of proportion. Also, adds A.J. Brown, gets the number 1 receiver. He has Devontae Smith in year 2, Dallas Goedert at tight end. I still don't trust that rushing game as well, so I think that means Hurts is going to get the keys to the Eagles' offense and produce big numbers. So he's one of my targets. Another one, Derek Carr. 5 straight 4,000-yard seasons. He was 12th overall in fantasy quarterback scoring last year. He threw for nearly 5,000 yards last year, and now he adds Devontae Adams, Josh McDaniels as his head coach as well. I think these are huge positives for Carr. I think he could really be top 10 this year. So those are two guys I really like, Jalen Hurts, Derek Carr. All right, Logan, talk about guys we're fading. We talked about guys we like. How about a couple guys you don't like?
Yeah, this year I'm going to be fading Patrick Mahomes. So he finished 4th in QB scoring last year, and that's with an electric offense. This year he's going to be losing Tyreek Hill. He's got an aging Travis Kelce. They are bringing in a couple new pieces with Juju and VS, but he's still being drafted currently as the number 2 overall quarterback at 39.8 in leagues, and I think that number is just way too high for me, or too low for me to be drafting him in the 3rd, 4th round, around there, and I'm going to be fading him this year in drafts.
All right, give me one more fade.
Yeah, another one similar to Patrick Mahomes is Aaron Rodgers that I'm going to be fading this year. He was the MVP last year, but just like Mahomes, he's going to be losing his top wide receiver and Devontae Adams. Adams accounted for over a third of his yards last year, along with 11 touchdowns. Age is also becoming a factor with Aaron Rodgers, so I'm going to be fading him as well.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers, I think he might be on a lot of fade lists this year. I got a couple for you, a couple different guys. My first one's Trevor Lawrence. So he added a lot more talent. They got a lot more talent around him offensively, but I'm not sure I like it. Christian Kirk is their number 1 receiver now. While I do think he's a fine receiver, he's not really a number 1 guy. I don't see him racking up a ton of great plays in that passing game with Lawrence throwing to him. And I'm just still not sold on Lawrence as a thrower as well. I think he has some growing up to do. I think it could be another long year for Trevor Lawrence, and I'm not sure I'm taking a chance on him as my number 2 fantasy quarterback. He's a number 2 fantasy quarterback, not number 2 overall, obviously. I'm talking about as a backup quarterback. Another one, so this is a little more high-profile guy, Lamar Jackson. This is another receiver room I do not like at all. Rashad Bateman, I think he's fine. He's going to be a good receiver, but he's their number 1. Marquise Brown is gone. Mark Andrews is there still, and I think he's going to get the guy that's going to get the most targets in that offense. But still, don't like that receiver room at all. His rushing totals will help Jackson a lot, but that worries me about the injury factor. He's not like a couple of these other guys like Hurts and Kyler Murray where they kind of improvise more than having designed runs. Jackson has a lot of designed runs. I think that sets him up as an injury risk. I would rather have Hurts or Murray on my roster if I'm getting a dual threat quarterback this year. So I'm kind of fading Lamar Jackson. All right, let's talk about a couple guys you can get late in drafts, some sleepers maybe to get as your number 2 quarterback behind a solid starter.
Yeah, so for my first sleeper, I'm going with Deshaun Watson, kind of ignoring all the off-field drama with him. In 2020, he finished 5th overall in QB scoring, and that was on a very bad Houston Texans team that was led by Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. And he doesn't have the greatest wide receiver core with the Cleveland Browns, but he does have Amari Cooper. He finished with a 70.2 completion percentage rate in 2020 with the Texans, and that was on a pretty bad team. And that would have been 2nd last year, only behind Joe Burrow. So I like him as a good bench player for a quarterback position with good upside this year. And another sleeper of mine is Tua, who also has very high upside, just like Watson. So with Tua, he's being drafted around 140 in leagues for the ADP, and he's got electric options in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and both of those wide receivers are going to get their yards this year. So I like him with that huge upside that Tua has this year.
I like those, both good calls. A couple sleepers, late round value picks for me. One of them, I'm a little deeper sleeper options than what you gave us. Davis Mills. So could be a little bit of a stretch, but I thought he had a good rookie season with Houston. He had 20 plus fantasy points, 5 games, an impressive 66.8 completion percentage on a team that wasn't very good, really just had Brandon Cooks. They added a couple more weapons around him offensively. I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot, so that means Mills is going to get some chances to air it out, have some big games as well. Again, if you get a really good starter, if you're happy with getting a Jalen Hurts early in your draft or Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, I think pairing him with Davis Mills is a good idea. And a good option in best ball leagues as well as a number 3 quarterback. A lot of people take 3 quarterbacks in best ball leagues. I think Mills is a good option here. And another one, little bit of a deeper sleeper option as well, Jared Goff. So he was up and down his first season with the Lions, but I really like what they've done with that offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, DJ Shark. Again, a team that could be playing from behind a lot. That means they could throw the ball a lot. That means Goff can put up some big games. And Goff has done it before with the Rams. I know he was a little erratic with them, but he still has some big seasons in that offense. So I think Goff's set up for some big games, especially when Williams is back healthy. I think Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown could be a dynamic duo for years to come in that Lions offense, and Goff could benefit from that. All right, Logan, that's the quarterback position. Previewed it for everybody for the coming season. Again, really deep, a lot of good players. You're excited about this quarterback?
Yeah, I think this quarterback class is going to be a lot more deep than last year. There's going to be a lot of different options that you can go with. There's so much strategy involved with the position, especially this year.
A lot of different ways you can handle it and a lot of ways you can have success, in my opinion. But both of us are probably going to wait a little bit on it and get maybe those second-tier options after those first guys are gone. All right, that is the quarterback preview for the 2022 season. Logan, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me on.
This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports.
And this has been Logan Glaser from RealTime Fantasy Sports.
Have a great day, everyone.